So both deputies have 2 minutes each. Deputy Smith.
You're picking on me all day.
Minister, it is your lucky day. It is your lucky day. And again, we are talking about services that affect rural Ireland. Minister, I, like a lot of postmasters and postmasters across the country, were horrified to see the headlines of the Irish Independent there some days or weeks ago, where the headline was 400 post offices to close. And as you well know, the post offices provide an invaluable piece of the fabric and integrity of rural Ireland. And we cannot stand by any longer and see no changes and no movement in progressing post offices and bringing them into the 21st century, where they've got the technology and the services to make them sustainable and to make them something worthwhile having in our communities. As you know, the post offices have to be sustainable. They're businesses. We need to be able to offer broader range of services within the post offices. We need to look at the financial pressure that the postmasters and postmistresses find themselves under, and it requires some fresh thinking and the implementation of new ways of doing things. Now, Minister, there has to be an emphasis on the care report, and the care report was launched almost a year ago with some practical solutions in that of how we can do it. The post office, and we'll be all the first to admit it, the figures do not lie. They have suffered significant losses, between 12 and 15 million in 2016, and a much greater loss, as you know, is anticipated for 2017. Postage currently represents 64% of An Post revenue, down from 74% in 2016. They're facts that we cannot get away from. But that is usually down largely to the fall in mailing, of course, and the better use of technology. And of course we are after talking about broadband, so that's not always the case in certain areas. And to be honest, there are areas in our constituencies in rural parts that don't have broadband and probably depend on An Post a lot more than areas that do have it. One facilitates the other. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Okay. You'll have another minute later.
Okay.
I too, Minister, I'm glad you're here to hear this. Minister, we in the Independent Rural Group brought in a bill here last September, and it was agreed by the government. And I office and my secretary spent time negotiating your office, and I thank you for that, and the Taoiseach's office, and Michael Ring's department, God help us, getting the wording for that, and we agreed it. A bill. They committed to do something with the post offices. We have the care report, and we have report upon report. And what's obviously and blatant is that diminishing the business, which are doing, taking the stifling for business, is diminishing the incomes of the postmisters. So that's what's going to happen. You're doing reviews then a year after or 2 years after, and the income is diminished. Close it. It's by stealth. As I said, you had the care report, so I'm depending on you. Minister Ring did a complete Punch's pilot. Wash his hands of it. He doesn't deal with post offices. He talked about a hurdy-gurdy of some kind of a mobile post office. Then he ran away from it. A different department left it to you, so it's in your hands, Minister. And I was in negotiations for government with you, and I know this is very high priority with you, so we're expecting that you can deliver. We're expecting that Minister Ross and the other independent ministers will insist that the government cry halt, because all the reports, all the activities, all the talk is useless. Accepting our bill, having accepted here in this House, unanimous. What does that mean? Does it mean anything to the postmisters and their staff and their families? I met many of them on Sunday night in Cork on the way home from their meeting in Athlone. They're depressed because you're tying their hands behind their back and you're blindfolding them, taking away the business by offering them to give them bank accounts. What's that going to do? Take further business away from them. Give them the car tax. Give them many aspects of business like that. Look at the situation in Iceland, the banking system that's there, and look at and bring in the credit unions as well if necessary. But don't be all talk and do nothing for them. It's in your hands, Minister. I hope you won't wash your hands of it. I know you won't, because it's just that's bad enough for Minister Ring to do that. The people deserve better. They are the hub of the community. They are the tourist office. They are the facilitators. Anything goes wrong when somebody is missing of a Friday or Thursday at a post, and in many cases it happened where they have become suddenly ill or died. They've saved their lives in many cases. Have some respect from at this stage. They've been kicked around like a political football for the last 10 years. It's time for action.
Thank you. First of all, can I state that I do have a lot of respect for postmasters and postmistresses across the country, and I suppose I better declare an interest in that my aunt and godmother is the postmistress in Collimer in County Galway. So it is something that I have a huge interest in. And I should also say that I was one, I think, of 5 members of the Oireachtas that actually bothered to make a submission to the Kerr report because I felt so strongly about this. And I do believe there are many, many services out there that can be channelled through the Post Office. I think the motor tax is only just one very small example of that. It is government policy that An Post remains a strong, viable company in a position to provide a high-quality nationwide postal service, that it maintains a nationwide customer-focused network of post offices in the community. However, the An Post Group lost €13.7 million in 2016, with the core mails business losing over €30 million. The Post Office network, as we know, is just over 1,100 outlets extending nationwide and reaches over 1.7 million customers. It is the government's front office provider of choice for many of our citizens and is seen as a trusted, local, reliable and friendly service. The 4 big strengths An Post has is its strong brand, the fact that the organisation is trusted by the public, particularly by older people. It's a nationwide network and guaranteed delivery and collections 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. These strengths have been built upon over the years by the postmasters and postmistresses in conjunction with An Post. With its nationwide reach, the company brings vans and postal workers to every single premises in Ireland, 5 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. This is a valuable service, particularly in rural areas and for rural-based businesses. To protect this service, I repealed the cap on the price of the stamp because, despite advice to the contrary, I believe that the 5-day-a-week service is an asset to be developed, not undermined. The Government is fully committed to a sustainable post office network, which it sees as a key piece of financial and social infrastructure for both urban and rural areas. Part of the strength of the Post Office brand and one of its selling points is that it reaches all parts of the country and can be accessed by anyone. I expect this to be a cornerstone of any future strategy for the company and indeed the Post Office network. An Post has entered a period of structural change and decline in activity, mainly due to the impact of e-substitution on mail volumes and post office transactions. The environment in which An Post operates is changing, and the network needs to change to thrive, particularly with a move to digital transactions. This involves harnessing existing strengths such as the trusted brand and the relationship of postmasters and postmistresses with individual communities to build the network of the future. There will be opportunities to develop new or enhanced product lines for the network, and I am keen that this would include the concept of digital assist, whereby the Post Office would become a default option for the provision of government services for those that are not comfortable in the digital space. The Post Office plays an important role in serving the needs of businesses and domestic customers alike, and this is the forefront of An Post's mandate. I am acutely conscious of the value placed by communities in both rural and urban areas on services provided by post offices, and I am concerned to ensure that the needs of those communities continue to be met. Government remains fully committed to a sustainable post office network, which it sees as a key piece of economic and social infrastructure for both rural and urban areas. In response to the challenges that it is facing, a strategic review of An Post, including the Post Office network, which will identify the changes and restructuring necessary to maintain the company on a sound financial footing, was initiated and is nearing completion. All opportunities are being assessed by An Post in the context of the strategic review. Until such time as the review is finalised and assessed, it is not possible to comment further. Government will be briefed once a definitive strategy has been agreed.
Deputy Smith, sorry, your time is well expired.
All right.
You'll have a further opportunity. Deputy Smith, there's one minute.
Thank you. Minister, can I make a few simple suggestions? The suggestions being to extend An Post services that they act as central offices for state payments and charges. Motor tax, local authority charges, hospital charges, banking services. All of those particular payments could be made in our post offices. Ensure that the Post Office becomes a hub of shared community state services, as well as an office for broadband access and perhaps printing facilities. Extend the Department of Social Protection contract with An Post. Minister, it has been 8 months since the formation of the Government, and little movement by the Government on outlining a plan to safeguard the future of An Post's network. The government responsibility for Post Office and its future network renewal resides between 2 government departments and 3 ministers. The government received the Bobby Kerr report, which outlined a number of practical solutions to address An-Post problems. Almost 1 year on, and there has been no action. Post offices are an important strategic state asset which play an invaluable role as the centre point of community and commercial activity in urban and rural Ireland. Post offices are our largest retail network in the country, with over 1,100 post offices employing almost 3,000 people. Now, Minister, you do not need me to emphasise any further the importance when we come to talk about the rural Ireland and the integrity of that.
1 minute, Deputy.
Minister, you said, and I better declare that my sister has a post office, and I also, her staff member Helen Halley, had a stroke, and I wish her well in the recovery. But Minister, I hope your aunt is now watching this, and your grandmother, or she'll get a stroke. And it's a good job you're after you're making your communion and your confirmation, because you get no envelope. It should give you a bugle down, it should give you a red card. Because it's up to you now, Minister, the independent members of this government, because it's clear that Fine Gael, Michael Ring wash his hands of it, are not interested in this. And previous governments, or even ones I was a member of, going back to Mary O'Rourke's time, they paid lip service to the post office. Deputy Smith has outlined the reasons why, all the good reasons, the virtues. Look, we lost 2 this week, 1 in Kilmead and County Waterford and 1 in Terryclass. They might get a reprieve. We're losing him every day. They're like snow off a ditch when the sun comes out. They're disappearing before our eyes. So it's time for you to act. We've not enough reports and strategic reviews. I want to ask you, how many staff are working in the GPO? It's not the postmasters and the post office privately owned are causing the losses in our post. It's the overstaffed places like the main post office. And it's also the fact that what do? Struggling, losing business. Put up the price of stamp by 30 pence. Any businessman would do that, would be out of business in a short time. So I'm looking at this as a sabotage of a wonderful institution, wonderful people, postmen and postwomen and postmisters and postmasters.
Minister to respond. Minister, 2 minutes.
First of all, Deputy Smith, to answer your question, I'm the Minister in charge. The buck stops with me. And there may be technical issues there, but the buck stops with me. And An-Post is accountable to me as Minister. I'm accountable to the House in relation to An-Post. So just to clarify that. I disagree with Deputy McGrath. It's not sabotage. And I said in my contribution exactly why I had to put up the price of the stamp. Now, look, I'm not going to do like predecessors did here in the past, bury their head in the ground and just hope this problem would go away. I was left with a situation last year, which I put on the record of the House here on numerous occasions, that I either reduced the post office service, postal service in rural areas to a 3-day-a-week service, or I looked at increasing the price of the stamp. Now, if I had done what you wanted me to do and not increase the price of the stamp, Deputy McGrath, you'd be the very first one here criticising the impact that this was having on rural Ireland and on rural businesses. And I wouldn't do that. I categorically refuse that. Point blank, that I would not tolerate that. Now, answering Deputy Smith in relation to the points that you've raised, and you've made very cogent points, and as I was on your side of the House, I made the exact same points. And I would encourage you to talk to my other Cabinet colleagues and make those points to them as well, because you're correct. There are a myriad of government services out there that could be done through the post offices. The websites and technology is already there. Every single post office in Ireland by the end of next year, except for 34, will have high-speed broadband outside their door. That should not be a threat. That should be an asset that can be exploited. And you're also right in relation to collecting charges like health charges and so forth, because I think An-Post needs to be providing financial services. We've seen that the banks have pulled out of provincial towns, have pulled out of rural Ireland, and An-Post can not only meet that challenge head-on, but provide new, innovative financial services. And I put one final point to you here, and I think it's relevant to all of us here in this House. The only time any of us go into a post office is to buy stamps at Christmas, or during the summer if we're going on holidays to renew our passport or to get foreign exchange. Now, we need to change the business model of An-Post, that we get more people using the post office, not just older people. And yes, we need to hold on to the social welfare service, but we need to expand those services.
We're going to move on to the next in the names of Deputy Deering.